Hi guys, it's Tammy and I'm going to paint some roses on a little metal planter that I got on clearance somewhere, I don't know where, and it is metal, so I could choose to use regular acrylic paints or I could use the enamel paints. If I use the enamel paints, I'm done. As soon as that dries, it cures itself, and that's great. If I use the regular paints, I'm going to just end up having to finish it with something like a spray varnish or something else, unless I'm just going to leave it hanging in my house, which is a possibility. So I was looking for something else, and I happened upon this frame. Isn't that a sweet couple? That's my husband and I, many years ago. But I kind of like these roses, and I haven't done those for a while, so I think that's kind of what I'm going to do. But I'm going to put you down. I'm going to show you a couple different ways to do roses. Hey, and when you see me, please pop on and say hi. That way I know I'm reaching someone. Even if you see the replay, I would just love to know it. And before I get started with my roses on my little pin pocket, I'm going to remind you that we are going to be having a daisy and rose paint challenge. And I'm going to show you how to do the daisies and the roses on two very different surfaces. I did mine in a mixed media pad for this one that has the daisies and the roses and a couple little filler flowers as well, but it'll look super cute on canvas as well. And this was actually inspired by the same flowers I put in a basket on a bicycle on a porch cleaner, which is probably what I will do for the challenge too. You can put it on anything you want, but you'll be able to see a couple different ways to do roses. So if you're interested in the challenge, just put challenge in the comments and I will send you a link and how to get signed up for that. All right, I'm gonna put you down, okay? And I'm gonna put you right side up, which makes me wrong side up, but that's okay. You don't need to see me right side up. See, I'm upside down. And we'll go this way. And we should be good to go. All right, so first I wanna show you a couple ways to do this. I'm gonna move my daisies off to the side so I don't get paint on them. And as I said, I kind of wanted to replicate these little roses on my little water can. But I'm going to show you quickly a couple different ways to get very similar looking roses. And it's also a way to tell you that there's always more than one way to do something. And I love to break things down in little steps so that you can be successful in whatever method you choose. So the first method I'm going to show you is by taking two colors. I'm using Cotton Candy and Peony Pink. And I got to tell you something. I am not fond of either of these colors on themselves, but putting them together, they turn this really pretty pinkish rose color. And since today is also National Rosé Day, as in rosé wine, I think they make a really pretty rosé color. So the first one I want to show you is by taking a flat brush, and the size of the brush will determine the size of your flowers. And I'm going to put half of the paint with the light color on one side and half with the dark color on the other side. And then I'm going to find a place on my plate, or if you use palette paper, that's fine too. And I'm just going to push it in the same spot. And what that does is it kind of blends that color together. Let's see if I can bring you down a little bit. And for this particular rosebud, I would keep my light color on top and I would slide it on the chisel, push down and slide back, kind of like an N. And then I would go about halfway up on that little petal and I would slide it down, push and slide back up, kind of like a U. And that kind of gives me one little bud in just a little stroke. If I wanted to make that a little ruffly, I would reload my brush, same thing, the light and the dark. I'm gonna walk it just a tiny bit on my paper. If I wiggle, and then I come down and I wiggle going the other way, it makes a bigger bud because I'm pushing down. But can you see how it has a little more ruffly effect to it? So that's that rosebud. Gotta rinse my brush just real quick. I'm gonna tap it on paper towel. I'm gonna show you this guy. And it's really similar, except we're just going to start by base coating a circle. Kind of a circle, okay? Sort of a circle. Okay. And I can let that dry completely, or I can keep that light color on my brush, and I can pick up the dark just on a corner. Again, I'm going to tap it on my plate so it's just not gobby paint. And I then can add the darker color here and the darker color pushing down to blend it. And I might need to do that more than once to get as deep of color as I want. Got this going, and I'm going to do another layer here. Then I would wash my brush, or at least wipe it off, and pick up white on just the corner of the brush, and I'm going to do white as a highlight here, and white as a highlight underneath the shading of that first circle. And I'm going to pick up just a tiny bit of white on the corner and just lay a couple white streaks in there too. So that's another method. Let me see if I can catch comments. I see comments popping up as I'm looking up on my phone, but I don't always get to see them on here. Let's see what we can do. Hang on. But I will go back and look at comments because I saw someone said they had trouble with it. But the big key with doing this double loading or floating or whatever you want to call it is practice and grace. Lots and lots of grace. Let me show you this other one, and then we'll go back and I'll decide which ones I'm going to use on my little tin, okay? So the last one, I'm going to make the circle with the light color. And this works with any color, okay? I'm using the colors that I'm using today. Just wiped out a little bit off my brush. Then I'm going to come back with the deeper color. And I'm just going to make a circle up here. If my bottom color is still wet, those colors might blend a little bit and it might not be straight dark paint. That's okay. I could choose, if I wanted to, add that little bit of a float down below. But if I didn't want to and I just want to keep it super uber simple, I'm going to pick up a little bit of white. I can do this with a liner too if I don't want to use the edge of my flat brush. I'm going to put a couple lines this way. I'm going to put a couple lines this way. Oops. And then a couple little dots in the center. Pretty simple and pretty fun. Why am I not able to see us? Facebook makes it really challenging sometimes, but that's okay. You know what? It's all right. I'm gonna rinse my brush, and I think I'm gonna go kind of with the ones that are on the frame. This is a fun project to do if you have a family photo you wanna give to someone, or a special, even just a photograph you take. And then of course we'll use my favorite greens, Hauser Green and Hauser Green Medium and Dark, to do some leaves around it. All right, let's go to our piece. Okay. And I think I'm gonna go with that little rose there. This isn't super big, and if I wanna put something inside of it, I probably wanna focus more on the bottom or the middle of it. So I think that's what we'll do. We're gonna focus more down here. I'm gonna use the regular acrylic paint. It's metal. I did make sure it was clean, and the way I do that is to, obviously if it was dirty, I'd wash it, but I take rubbing alcohol and I just wipe it down just to make sure I'm getting rid of all the grease and such. Okay, so I'm gonna start by making a couple circles. Let's do one about here. And because it is metal, I'm gonna need to let my coats dry in between a little more. Otherwise it'll just pick it up. And if you can see, it isn't covering perfectly. I'm gonna want one more coat. I'm gonna be holding this. I don't know why that's so far away today. And so I'll have one that way, we'll have one this way. How about that? And I'm gonna do some up here too. We're gonna do one here. I'm just painting right over this. There's a little bit of a ridge detailing on this. If you didn't want to do it that way, you could just stay on the flatter surface. Again, there is absolutely no mistakes in painting, only design changes. Okay, so I've given it one coat. Let's see if we can find us. Hey, here we are. Get this down. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and see. It's still a little wet. I might need to pull the blow dryer if it starts picking it up. Okay. So far, I'm guessing there isn't anybody who would think this part is challenging. Painting little circles. The only challenging part for me is letting it dry in between coats. I'm not the most patient person. So with that said, I'm going to take the opportunity to base coat some leaves. So I'm going into my Hauser Green Light, and I'm just going to make sure I have a leaf that goes on this way. And I'm just doing a leaf shape. So to a point, and I'm just going to fill it in. And these two are going to need a little more coverage. So it's good to go back, bounce back and forth a little bit. So that one, let's do some leaves down here. We'll do one off of, one down this way. One off this way. So I am helping at a event for a board that I serve on, the Heritage Foundation. We are doing a wine walk in downtown Grays Lake today. It looks like we may be dealing with a little rain, but that's okay too. It's wine. Nobody cares if it rains when it's wine. Good. Can you see how dark that is next to that? I'm not sure that that's going to really show up a ton for me. So when I go back with my second coat, I'm just going to add a little white to my green, because I think I want those leaves to show up a little more. And just because it's such a dark surface, yeah. And I can add a little more green hue when I do my shading. But this way they're not quite as falling into the background. Again, I am just base coating right now, so nothing fancy, nothing special here. But by putting my leaves next to there, I can see I could probably make my little rosebuds a little bigger. Hi, Linda. Thanks for watching. Any comments? Oh, Pat's watching. Hi. And of course, I saw someone else. This is ridiculous. Okay. All right. So I'm just rinse my brush. I'm going to make my little circles a tiny bit bigger. And then I promise I'll hit it with a blow dryer so we can get going with some shading and highlighting. Okay. All right. So again, I'm showing you pretty much this version of a rose, but when we meet for our rose challenge, I'm going to show you our ones that are done with one stroke, two colors on the brush at one time, and we'll also be adding daisies. So that'll be a lot of fun. Okay. Are we drying fast enough? No, not really. I don't want to pick up the paint, so I am going to just grab the blow dryer and hit these with okay. Try to be patient. I'm going to get another coat of green on my leaves real quick, and then we'll go to our buds. Do you have a favorite color rose? Let me know in the comments. Love to know what other people like. I have an affinity for white flowers. I don't know why, but I had white roses for my wedding. Maybe that's part of it. I love white hydrangeas. And so that would go to show that I like daisies since they're already supposed to be white. Okay, rinsing that brush. I had to do those base coats, so they're not going to be exactly like I showed you with this guy, but because I needed to have a little stronger color first. Pink and white, yeah, all those together would be gorgeous, yes. All right, so I am going to go ahead and put a little bit of the light pink back on my brush. I'm going to pick up the darker pink. I'm going to put it, just lay it back and forth on my plate a little bit. I want these roses to be going this way and these to be going that way. So I'm going to start by doing my little circle for my top of my rosebuds. Just kind of go out to this way. And this one's going to kind of go out this way. So with this, I want my color, the strong part of the color, to be fading up toward the top of whatever the rose is. Daisies and sunflowers. I like daisies and sunflowers. Those are my sunflowers. Ooh. Lots of sunflowers around here. All right, so I did the top one there. I'm gonna need a little more paint, so I'm just gonna go pick up my darker pink here and do the same thing. And I'm gonna put this one here. And put this one going up this way. Now, I did not switch my brushes, and I probably could have gone to a smaller brush for that upper circle. It would have probably made my life just a little easier. Never be afraid to switch around your brushes. Okay, so I rinsed that out. If I have little edges that need to be cleaned up, could do that with either a damp brush or, big fan of Q-tips. And I also am not a perfectionist, so that kind of helps in this case. All right, so that's what I've just done, is just done the darker part of those little roses, so I can then come back and add the bottom dark spot by, again, I'm just picking up a little bit of the pink of my brush, so I've got a little bit of the light pink. I'm picking up the darker color on the corner of my brush. I'm setting that brush down in the same spot on my plate or palette, and I am going to give it a little bit of a shade on the bottom part of the rosebud. I would say I'm going from about 7 o'clock to 5 o'clock. And when you go to do this floating, you can literally do it in one swoop, or you can kind of pity pat it. You'll find out what works best for you. There is no wrong way to do it, but just whatever feels better for you or gives you the most control or the look that you like. See, right now I'm just kind of pity patting it up and down. All right, are they starting to look a little bit like roses? Let's hope. And these are much more of a faux rose. I'm gonna rinse my brush because I'm gonna go into white. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just picking up a little bit of white on the corner of my brush. I'm gonna find a place on my plate to, when I push it back and forth, I call that walking. Everyone has their own little words. That's my walking. And I'm going to put a little bit at the very top. I'm going to put a little underneath here. I realize I did that float wrong, but that's okay. Pick up a little more white. little white at the top, a little white at this top. Okay. I'm just going to put this one down for a second. Okay. Picking up more white. And I'm putting the color next to the dark edge that I created, that center part. And again here under this one. And this guy's gonna get one. And I am actually gonna switch to a slightly smaller brush to do my center ones up there because it brush is a little big. But again, I'm just taking white, corner of my brush, highlighting the top of it. So I'm going to take that smaller brush I just had, and I just have paint on a little bit of the corner, and I'm just going to put a couple little swishes in here to give it a little color in the body of the rose too. Have to have paint. And you barely see that, but it's cute. I like it. I like it. Rinse my brush. And I'm going to add some shading to my leaves. So I'm going to try first going in just with the corner of Hauser Green Medium and see if that's dark enough. And I'm just going to go on the outer edge on each side. What do you think? I think it could be a little darker. Hi, Christine. Go into the darker color. We'll see which one we like better. Oh, I'm gonna like the darker because I'm gonna see that better. And notice that I pick up my piece and I move it so it's most comfortable for me. You do not ever have to leave something completely flat. It doesn't have to be flat if you're painting on something like this or if you're painting on a canvas. Pick it up, move it around, do what's comfortable for you. Your painting does not mind if you pick it up. And I'm gonna do a little float down the center of that leaf. I could easily do that with a liner if I didn't want to float it. Let's do these leaves. See how I'm kind of pushing it as I go? And that's how I get that softened color. So it's not just a straight line of green, it kind of blends into my base coat. It gets darker on the edge and it gets more faded in toward the middle. If you have trouble with that, remember you can always go back and use your base color and then put the green, the darker green, on just one edge. And those colors blend together as you're applying it. All right. I think this guy got a little dark, so we might actually just kind of go over him again. Soften him up a little bit. And it's not, I have to do this all in one swoop either. I can come back and add layers. Nope, we didn't do this guy at all, did we? Shame on me. There we go. A little more paint. There we go. Lay a little line in there. All right, I'm going to grab a liner brush. I think, I hope, well, or a round that I'm just going to use the very end on. And I'm going to mix my greens and white just to come up with a color that's going to show up as a vine. I think this will work. This might be a little thick of a brush for me to be using. I should have a liner here. Why don't I have a liner? Oh, well, we're just going to go with it. Just adding a little vine coming out of my roses. Can vary the color. This way as well. And I think we'll add just a little bud out here. I'm going to cheat on this one. I'm going to do my 2 colors on my brush at one time, tap it on my paper towel, and I'm just going to give this a quick little bud there. And we'll do one down here too. Make sure I have enough paint so it covers my light on top. I'm not even worried about those being very cute or good, because I'm going to come back with that green, and I'm going to encase it like it's still inside the bud. And do the same thing over here. It's going to still be inside the green part of the bud. All right, and then we'll add just a couple little leaves here and there, and I can go in and fill them in like I did the ones by the roses, or I can just take 2 colors or a couple colors of my greens, a little white, mix it on my brush, and I'm just going to set my brush down and pull it to a point. I'm setting it down and kind of pulling it to a point. So little leaves just kind of coming off of here. Set it down and pull it to a point. All right. I have to tell you, this little rose right here is bothering me. And even though I'm not a perfectionist, sometimes even I have to go back and fix things like that. They just don't make me happy. That's pretty good. All right, I am going to, because I know I'm going to have stuff in here, I really want my centers to stand out a little bit. So I'm going to use the tip of that round brush I just had cleaned off, just the very, very, very tip, or I could use a stylus. Oh, a stylus, look at that. Maybe. That one's a little big. And I'm just going to put a couple little dots inside my centers. Don't have to do that. I just think it's kind of cute. A couple of lines where it's fading. All right. So I think it's pretty much done. I think if we add a little bit of flowers to it, we have a sweet little hanging planter. If you were going to have wanting to use this outside, I would punch holes in the bottom of it before you plant anything in. But there is, it is kind of done, one and done. Do this way, back up that way, and go this way. So I hope you enjoyed watching me paint our little planter with the little roses. And again, we are going to be doing a rose and daisy challenge, a 2-day painting challenge. And I'd love to take you step by step in how to do those. We're going to do them on 2 different surfaces with 2 different ways to paint them. So if you're interested in joining us for that challenge, just put challenge down and I will come back and put a link where you can get more information. I hope you guys have a absolutely fabulous Saturday. Let me see if I can pull anything else up. I really do appreciate you watching. We love when you watch and like what we do. We love when you follow our page, and we love when you share with other people. Thanks so much. I'm gonna go get ready to go pour rosé wine. So have a great National Rosé Day, whether you drink wine or pink Kool-Aid. Make the best of it, and we will see you very soon. Bye-bye.